She does not follow trends. She creates them.
Trailblazing doesn't even do her justice. She told herself, when you feel fear, instead of running, you have to shine a light on what scares you. It's up to you to create the dawn.
To Spike. She gave Spike
Lee edits on his script to Bamboozled.
When I read that, I was like, girl. Welcome to Giggles and Goals, where we help you do what you're supposed to do. New mindset, clear goals, no procrastination.
And today we're doing another spotlight on Bozoma Saint John. You've seen her shaking up brands from Apple to Netflix. Now she's shaking tables on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. But her journey is more than glam and power. It's a masterclass in confidence, culture, and compassion. So let's get into it.
I'm so excited to talk about Bozoma. So, but before we will get excited and then not do what we're supposed to do. So,
right.
Before we jump
like we're telling you should do.
Right. Let's do our one-liners. Do you want to go first?
Yes, I'll go first.
Okay.
So mine's is, I turned my struggles into stepping stones. Now I'm walking all over the competition.
Holla. Holla. Okay, mine is, some chase clout, we chase impact. Boz taught us both can be done with grace like a boss.
Yes, like, because she is the ultimate, the epitome of a boss.
Literally.
Really an amazing person.
Literally.
I'm just fresh off the heels of reading her book, so I'm a little emotional because the end of her book makes you want to cry. It's crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get into it. I only got 2 chapters in, so I need to finish. But let's do Who Said That. So it's my week. You're going to know this. I feel like you know this.
I already know it immediately.
Okay, well, just act like you don't know. Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So the quote is, I'm not bossy, I'm a boss. Okay. So
let's give this the hint.
It's a woman. It's a Black woman.
Mm-hmm.
She's from Houston. She's right? Yeah, she's from Houston.
Oh, are you talking about Beyonce?
Yes. You didn't know who it was?
No, I thought you were talking about Boz.
Oh. Well, it was Beyonce.
Okay, well, that threw me. Okay, good. All right,
love
so
it.
she's from Houston. It's like, okay, that could have been Lizzo, Beyonce, or Megan Thee Stallion.
I also actually didn't know Lizzo was from Houston. I don't know why I didn't know that. I know Megan for sure because she reps it so hard.
She talks about it.
Lizzo.
I guess I really knew about it when I saw her documentary.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But then I kind of knew before because her and Megan would do social media things where they were talking about being from Houston together.
Oh, okay. I know Toby Nwigwe.
Mm-hmm. He's also Houston.
Yeah, he's from here. Some good people.
Right. Very, very talented, like deeply talented people.
Mm-hmm. Well, one day they'll be saying, Maverick's from Houston. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like she's a H-Town girl
born there. Yeah.
all the way. And she'll be raised there, hopefully.
Yes, we're working on that, Lord Jesus.
Yes.
But without further ado, let's jump into our topic of the day. I'm going to do a quick bio on Bozoma Saint John, or Boz as people call her. So Boz is a Ghanaian American marketing icon known for flipping industries on their heads while bringing her full unapologetic self into every room. She's led groundbreaking work at Pepsi, Apple Music. She even did that partnership with Pepsi and Beyonce that was huge, and Uber in their darkest days of Uber, Endeavor, and Netflix. Huge names. She's also the author of the book The Urgent Life, a memoir about navigating deep personal loss, her husband's passing, and finding resilience that powers not just career wins, but a fulfilling life. Now she's been green light to host a competition series called On Brand, teaching creators, entrepreneurs how to turn cultural currency into business power. And yes, she'll be on the next season of Beverly Hills Housewives, or the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. So I'm really excited to learn more about her. Leonie knows this. I think I might have been the first one who told Leonie about Boz because I went to a conference a year ago and she was a keynote, and it was my first time hearing about her. I never heard her name before, and I came back to podcast recording. I was like, oh my God, I went to this conference and there's this woman and she was like amazing. And I remember when she walked out on the stage, first of all, she's tall, beautiful, chocolate, muscles, like the woman is fit. And then she started telling you about her career and you're like, you did what? And you did where? And you did, huh? And then she's funny and engaging. and she seemed kind, and so I was just mesmerized by her, and I remember leaving that conference feeling like, "Oh, I can do anything because 'cause I'm a Black girl," and, I even went back to work, did a presentation on what I learned, and then that passed around the C-suite, so my whole company knows about Bozoma from that conference and me just hearing her talk for an hour. So, tell us about your experience with the book. I mean, if I just got an hour of her
I
as a
know.
keynote,
And
what's been your
everything
experience?
and everything that you're saying, now that I've read her book, it just makes so much
Mm,
sense. This woman can take up space in the most
yes.
beautiful way, but when you hear her backstory and where she comes from and what her family has been through and what she has been through, then you know
Mhm.
why.
Mm.
And so let's
She's
get into it.
captivating. Yeah, let's jump in.
She's extremely captivating. So, and so is her story. So, let's get into it. I'm
Yeah.
going to read a lot from my notes because I have a lot I want to say, and I don't want to forget some things.
Mhm.
So, I'm going to be looking at my computer a lot. So, forgive
Okay.
me, those who are watching on YouTube. So, um, as an overview, she is the Urgent Life is a memoir, is her memoir of her life as her early life, and then it goes into her life as with her husband, and then now her late husband and his battle with cancer and how they went through that journey. And it is a very powerful narrative of resilience, courage, and living life with fierce intentionality amid
Mm,
personal and political upheaval, which happened in her early life. So she was raised in Ghana in her early life, and her father was basically like a diplomat, politician type of person. So he was heavily involved in the government of
mm,
Ghana, and there was a coup that happened, and there was a lot of political turmoil, and they had to flee Ghana.
oh, wow.
hmm So her father was in prison because he was on the opposing side politically, and so her mother, it forced her pregnant mother to grab her children, so Bazoma and her sisters, to flee to America. And
Without the
so
dad?
without the dad, he was in prison, so they didn't know what was going to happen. They were worried.
Oh my
So
goodness.
this was a very harsh reality for her that she had to face early on that
Mm,
really, I believed, shaped her view around fear and living in fear.
yeah.
So, we'll get to how that could have affected her, the way she, presents herself in rooms and in spaces on stage and in life now. But that is a early memory of hers. And I would say that this early experience of displacement and fear profoundly influenced her outlook on life, instilling in her a fearless, headstrong spirit and a unique perspective on courage and resilience. Um, so another example of her walking in fearlessness is so it's her the book goes back and forth. So it
Mhm,
goes into like she's telling the story of the journey of her husband's passing, but
mhm.
in the middle of that, it's sprinkled with her early life, it's sprinkled with things that were happening before the weeks leading up to his death, but it opens up with his journey as like the when they found out that his cancer was terminal, and then it starts to kind of go do some um I don't know what the word is, not foreshadowing, but when you just go look, some looking back on the past, that kind
Yeah.
of adds some context to the moment they're experiencing in those final weeks of his.
Mhm. I
And
don't know
so
if you're oh, go ahead.
go ahead, go.
No, I don't know if you're gonna get to this, but I know in the 2 chapters I read, she was saying when she found out he was sick, her mom was sick,
Oh,
right?
yes.
And
So
so
her
she was with her
mhm,
mom, like, nursing her mom, and
mhm.
then found out he was sick, and she just assumed he would be okay, right? Because,
Right.
what are
Mhm.
the
Because
odds?
they had battled so many, illnesses already, like, her aunt had cancer. I'm gonna get to this I'll get this in a minute, but she had her own scare at a very young age.
Mm,
And her mother had beaten cancer before. I think her husband's mother had a battle with cancer and she had beaten it. So as far as her experience was, they were going to beat it.
yeah,
And she had ran up against tragedy over and over again, and she was able to overcome it. So, so yeah,
yeah,
that's so she was dealing with that at the same time, like being with her husband by his bedside, and then being with her mom at the same time, like dropping
mhm,
off her daughter and then going to help her mom. So it was a lot to take at one time, and her relationship with her husband was tumultuous for a time before they decided they're just going to stick it out and go do this battle of cancer together. So it was
Mhm.
very, very convoluted.
Yeah.
But another example of, since we're on the topic of her husband passing and her going through that experience, um, another example of her walking in fearlessness is when she knew she got a call from her mother-in-law and they were like, you need to get here. You need to get to the hospital. And this is when I believe they found out that his cancer was terminal. And she said that she wanted to run away, but then she told herself, when you feel fear, instead of running, you have to shine a light on what scares you.
Mm.
And so probably those experiences she's had growing up, facing many, many battles, because I don't go into detail here, but she talks about her college boyfriend,
Oh, I
unalived
remember that.
himself,
Yeah.
in a very dramatic fashion.
Mhm.
And it was really, really hard for her to live with that, and deal with that. And then within 2 years later, she ends up, falling in love with her husband and getting married. But it's like tragedy after tragedy after tragedy.
Yeah.
Having to leave her home that she's only known, and to go start a new life somewhere, not voluntarily, but
Right.
hoping and praying that your father is going to be you'll be able to see your father again. But you have
Right.
to flee in fear. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I
Go
believe
ahead.
she had a tough pregnancy too with her daughter.
Well,
Um,
yeah, yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
yeah, so it's like nothing has come easy.
Easy, period, nothing.
Mhm.
Everything has been immense struggle.
Yeah.
But I'll get to that. I'll get to more in a minute. Um, but so that goes over, like, so in the beginning, you get a understanding of her fearlessness, of her
Mhm.
resilience, of her endure what she's had to endure in life. Um, and again, we'll get into her professional accomplishments in a minute, but we're just laying the groundwork so everything will make sense when we go into
Mhm.
how much of a beast she is in the corporate world. But in her she then talks about her early challenges. So how we talk about the different cancer battles she's had.
Mhm.
At around 18 years old, when she was first of all, she was very popular in school. She was like captain of the cheerleading squad.
I believe
Like
it.
everybody knew her. Like she was just like that girl, right? But she said around 18 years old, when she was like in her last year of school, she was faced with her own breast cancer scare, because
Mm,
she had a lump, I believe, that she had to get removed.
that's so young.
And yes, and it turned out it was benign, but that made her aware of her own mortality and how youth is not a protection against death. And so she just started, at the time, she was like a straight laced, never missed an assignment, never did anything she wasn't supposed to do. But after that, she kind of like flew off the rails and was like, I'm just going to do what I want to do. She was sneaking out the house. Her grades were slipping. As far as slipping, she was barely holding on to a B. That was
Yeah.
like slipping for her. And so, her parents were like worried, like, what's going on. And so this was like, she was kind of like spiraling.
Mm,
She was able to pick herself back up, and she ended up going to West Salem University, where she was supposed to do. She was pre med, I believe, or she was doing a lot of medical classes because her dad, she's African. You want to
yes.
be doctor, lawyer, engineer.
Lawyer. Mhm.
Exactly. So she was taking those classes, all the organic chemistry and all that stuff. But she's like, that's not what she wanted to do. She actually majored in, I'm forgetting her major right now because I kind of like read the book, but it was like a communication marketing type of thing. And so she talks about that experience. But the thing that is so cool about her time in college, which kind of reminds me of you and I a little bit, because both of us have saw there was something that was missing in college, in our college experience, and then
Mhm.
we did the work to make it happen.
Yeah.
Like me with I worked to reinstate the National Association of Black Journalism on our campus because it had gone away ever since the 97 earthquakes. So when I came in 2000, what time? Whenever I got in school. None of y'all
Doesn't
business.
matter.
Whenever I got
2020.
there, right? It took me a year from my junior to senior year to get it reinstated. I had to go before the student union and all that stuff to get it done. Like, it was took some work. And I know with you started a sorority, and I know that took some work to get going. And so with her, she has a really cool story because she wanted to take a hip hop class and it didn't exist. So she petitioned to create this hip hop course centered around Tupac, and this all stemmed from her having like a debate about who was the best rapper and stuff like that. Her,
Okay.
meanwhile, she's in the East Coast and she's talking about how Tupac is the best rapper, so she had to stand 10 tones down on that.
Yeah.
And her so when her favorite so then she asked her favorite professor if he could teach the class, and he declined. He said, I'm not teaching that, absolutely not. So then she approached the dean, who agreed on the condition that she teach the class herself.
Wow.
Meanwhile, she's a student.
That's
and i
cool.
and I guess they were like, well, that's not gonna happen, she's not gonna do it. So of course, when faced with a challenge, she said, bet. I'll meet you. I'll bet on that, and I'll raise you whatever. So, despite her full course load, she accepted the class and became highly popular, where she had over 30 students enrolled
Wow.
with a waiting list. I mean, the girl is,
What? They better I hope they paid her.
I don't know. She didn't say about getting paid or not, but the girl is just
Boss.
amazing. I mean,
Bo's the boss.
I've never heard a story like this before. It's really, really incredible. So then, I said in her early career, it's like that is like, first of all, the fact that she had the gumption to go and teach a class as a student herself and the whole semester work and doing assignments, also doing the assignments herself and
Yeah.
still graduating, doing what she needed to do. I'm like, how do you have the capacity? And there's not how do you have them? How did you find all the time in the amount of hours in the day to do something like that?
And honestly, not even just that, the confidence to get in front of your peers
Yes,
and teach them. You know
yes,
what I mean?
and
Like,
grade them.
in front of your peers.
Oh, but it was like partial credit as well. It wasn't even a full credit class. They were like, we'll do it for partial credit, but still going into it with full credit mindset.
Mhm.
So then her career path reflects her boldness and confidence. And so her real career starts at when she became a temp at Spike Lee's agency because she didn't want to go to medical school or something like that. So she convinced her parents to let her take some time to go to New York and get a job and figure it out. And so
Mhm.
they let her do it. In her book, she said she didn't say there was a lot of qualms about it, but they were like, okay. So she went and became a temp at Spike Lee's agency, and it's such a funny story because she talks about when she gets there and Spike was like not really wanting, not necessarily not wanting her to be there, but was like, "Who are you? What are you gonna do?" And
Right.
so she was like, she basically at the beginning stood for herself, and I'm like, "Well, I'm this and I'm that, and so I'm gonna do a good job." And he was like, "Whatever," and went in and closed the door, and she sat there and she did her work, and then one day she noticed Spike Lee was holding a script in his hand. Have you heard this story? Have you heard her
Mhm.
tell it?
Yeah.
Okay, so he had a script in his hand, and then she asked to read it. And he was like, "Okay, I'll give you a couple of days." And then she did it in overnight. She read the script and then gave her red letter edits
Mhm.
and handed it to him. And
To
every and
Spike. She gave Spike.
Spike Lee edits on his script to Bamboozled.
When
And
I
then
read that, I was like, "Girl."
right. So the thing that was funny is when she asked for the script, everybody was kind of looking in amazement. She was describing, and then she was like, "Can I read it?" And it was like, it's like Miranda Priestley, like, how dare you?
Right.
Um, so then she describes how people were shocked and how they gasped at her gumption, essentially at her boldness, and she was able to do it. And so from that day, she gained respect from Spike Lee, and eventually he was like, "I'm going to work for you one day." And that led her to get a promotion from a temp to an executive assistant, and eventually that assistant job turned into an assistant account executive role where she would bridge the communication with the agency's clients and Spike Lee. And so from this, I thought it was really, really poignant that she said this because the thing that made her confident in the first place is that she said one of her sayings in the book is, being honest about my shortcomings is as important as knowing my talents. She was able to move with such confidence in her temporal because she wasn't embarrassed by what she didn't know, which enabled her to be super confident about what she did know. She knew she would do a good job because she knew what she was good at.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
when she offered to read the script, she knew that she would be able to understand the depth of his writing because she had read Toni Morrison and other books of the kind where she can understand the Black experience from that in-depth level where it was complicated and you had to decipher through the message that was there. So, and because she had that experience, she was confident she was going to be able to do a good job with that script. So it wasn't just a frivolous thing, like let me just try something and maybe it'll work, maybe not. She didn't embarrass herself because she was confident in her abilities and she knew her
Yeah.
abilities. So it just lets us know how important it is to be honest with yourself
And I
about
and I
what you can and cannot
And I
do.
think something about her that always stands out to me is that she's not afraid to take up space, right? So that confidence, even her being in an environment where Spike Lee, I'm sure was highly competitive. Okay. I'm sure
Mhm.
everyone wanted his attention. Everyone wanted him to think they're the star, right? And so for her to be newer probably on the team and to take up space and be confident doing that is huge. Like when I worked at University of Houston, we had a new VP or something, this little lady, like short, like little lady. She wasn't older, but she was just little. And someone asked her, like, is it intimidating being rooms with influential like presidents and CEOs? And she said, very much so, but I make sure I take up space. I
Mm,
make sure that I'm not overlooked, that I'm not pushed. That I take up space. She's like, even if that means physical space, when I walk in the room, I might be little, but people know I'm there. And I feel like Bose has that same energy of like, I'm gonna take up space and not apologize for it. Like I'm
right.
here and I'm not sorry I'm here. And I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and I think just going back to that time with in going when you have to deal with tragedy early on, it's like
Mhm.
you kinda like when you I know that people wanna shelter their kids, which I have no, advice around that, like whether you should or shouldn't shelter your kids. But there is a certain level of tough skin that you get
Mhm.
when you are faced with hardships early on, and when you have to think like an adult to some degree. I'm sure when she was fleeing, she didn't understand what was going on, but you have to put yourself in a survival mode that most children don't have to deal with. And so that is that begins to build your armor. And then
Mhm.
you deal with your own battle with potentially having cancer. And
Mhm.
then you deal with you are losing a loved one in a very tragic way in college. It just
Yeah.
adds to that armor where it's like, if I dealt with that, surely I could talk to 100 people.
Absolutely.
Surely I could do this in front of 1,000 people. Surely I could say
Absolutely.
what I want to say because I've survived much worse. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
That's real.
So, so then she goes into, she talks briefly about this, but I want to put a bigger spotlight on it because although she was doing very well at Spike Lee's agency, she still had the president of the company did not like her. She said it basically plain and clear, like they were not fans of each other. And the president seemed to let her know that
Mm.
regularly. So although she was killing it, there was somebody there that was there to throw a wrench or an obstacle or something there in her pathway. And I think as women, and she didn't say what race this person was, but I feel like in my own experiences and from what I've heard from other people, other women, you can be successful, you could do your job, you could do what you're supposed to do, but there's some other woman there that is making it difficult for you to enjoy your job or do your work or
Mhm.
something like that. Have you ever experienced anything like that?
Yeah, I've definitely experienced that, especially, I mean, like I said, we don't know what race the woman is, but it being Spike Lee's company, there's a high chance she might have been a Black woman. High chance.
Not
We don't
always.
know. Well, if it was Spike Lee, he's very,
Yeah, right.
you know
Real black.
very the originator of it. He's like right under Malcolm, right? So, but either way, a woman, still a minority, whether it was any race woman. I've
Right.
been in environments where they feel like, well, I'm the head woman here, right?
Yeah, right,
And so
right. You're not gonna outshine me.
you're not gonna outshine me or, put me to the side when I've worked hard to be the only one here. Instead of it being like, man, I worked hard to open the door so that I'm not the only one. And that's a
Or she's trying to
different
come for my job.
yeah, it's a different there's space for all of us.
Mhm.
But sometimes women feel like, well, I worked really hard for this one spot. You're not about to take it, right? And if she saw Bose's light and she saw how smart she was, she probably thought she can come for my job.
Right, and
right?
or, she's new, she's a temp, or she's a, assistant, and look how brazen and bold she is.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get him to do XYZ, and he won't even hear me out, you know?
Right, right. But favor
Mhm.
ain't fair. I always tell people that.
Right.
Favor ain't fair, and I'm not gonna apologize for favor, right?
Yes.
And I think
Mhm.
it's different if you're arrogant about your favor versus being grateful for your favor. But
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
Mhm.
apologize for it. And so I
Yes.
love that Bose is just like, she didn't like me, but whatever. Like
Right.
that didn't make her shrink down. That didn't make her quit.
Mhm.
She just was aware of it, right?
Right.
So
Mhm.
I love that.
Yes, and so my next part talks it's I'm supposed to talk about her late husband, but I really think you should, whoever is listening to this, go get her book on Audible or whatever, because it's such a beautiful story. So it has so many twists and turns and ups and downs, but I feel like I won't do it justice with just a little bit of notes. So go and listen to the book, because it's really, really a phenomenal read. It's a phenomenal listen to. It's also really quick. I was able to do it in 5 hours on 2 times speed.
Oh my gosh. Oh my
So
gosh.
I was able to do it, and I'm still able to, retain a lot of it. But I feel like if I start talking about that relationship, I'm gonna make it not make sense. So just go listen to it. But then I want to talk about her philosophy and her legacy. So her life philosophy centers on embracing fear, showing up fully, and living urgently. And I'm sure a lot of that has to do with, I will say this about in her husband's last weeks, they've written out a whole list of everything that they wanted to do that they didn't get to do, like go fishing with his daughter, go, eat gelato, go do all these things. And so everything immediately became urgent. There was like, she had the story about she made his favorite food lasagna because he was Italian, and instead of waiting for it to cool down and let all the, the seasonings marinate and get all the goodness, he was like, no, I want to eat it right now, like, and while it's piping hot. All So that's how they just lived those last few weeks, and where they were able to really just have a zest for life again. And so her experiences from fleeing political violence, confronting health scares, and pioneering academic courses to navigating corporate politics and personal loss paint a portrait of a woman who refuses to be diminished by her circumstances. And
Mhm.
that is the greatest lesson I feel like we can get from here. Also, she talks about some things that maybe would have done differently around the time her husband was passing, or leading up into the time her husband was passing, like a few years before. Like, would she have done something differently? Having to deal with that potential regret, and so it just makes you want to reassess your life, and wherever there is like where you don't have gratitude or you don't have thankfulness, it makes you want to be extremely thankful and
Mhm.
have a lot of gratitude, and look and it makes the things that happen in your life that you feel like are huge really, really small when you look at things at the grand scheme. And she really helps you to put the grand scheme of your life into perspective, and remind you to, look ahead, don't just look at right now. And so then, and I didn't even touch on her experience. Actually, I will get to that. I think my favorite thing she said in her book is, when you're in darkness, instead of waiting for a ray of sun to appear, you sometimes have to find the light within. You have to conjure the match, spark the flint, and ignite it yourself. It's up to you to create the dawn.
Mm.
And so a lot of times, in my own experience, I wait for, like, well, I'm going to keep going, I'm going to keep waiting, and the light will there will be a light that appears. There'll be, I'll find the light. But it reminds you that you have, where it's kind of like similar to like dancing in the rain. That concept of, don't wait for the rain to stop to dance. It's like, don't wait for the light to appear to create the light. You find the tools that you can, and you conjure the light yourself. And another thing that shapes her story is, just she just has a history of loss, and it's like there's her whole life is just riddled with extreme loss. And she talks about having lost her first child, her in her first pregnancy, having lost her child, having to actually birth that baby, and also having to live through that baby not living, just to save her own life.
Mhm.
And she talks about being angry with God in that, but still having to have enough faith for the things that for the next baby she wanted. So it's like it's just this, and I can relate to her being in that, having that same experience in my second miscarriage, where I was so angry at God, like what how are we getting here? Like, why? I did everything I was supposed to do. I asked the doctor, I stayed on top of
Mhm.
it, and still this happened. And it was something that was preventable,
Mm.
but it was still not caught. But it's like, even though I'm upset and I want to turn away, I still have to have faith for for the thing that I'm trusting God for still. And
Yeah.
so being in that very awkward space in your faith and spiritually. And so she really gives that part about the light and conjuring the match and sparking the flint. It really, I feel like, shines a light on those times when you are upset at your circumstance, but you still have to take ownership and accountability and responsibility for your future and for getting out of that.
Yeah.
So beautiful, beautiful book.
No, I'm gonna finish it. But what I hear when I hear just a lot about her, the hardship, being someone who is building a career around walking people through hardship, right? Most people, if they have one of those things happen,
I mean,
then that is like a scarlet letter on them, right? And it's like this constant thing that reminds them they can't be happy because this thing happened to them, right?
mhm,
But the fact that she's experienced so much loss, but she's still able to be joyful, she's still able to be a light, she's still
mhm.
able to encourage and pour into other people, she's still able to have a successful career, like not even just successful, like beyond, right?
Beyond.
Beyond,
I've never
beyond.
seen somebody be able to take a corporate experience and just finesse it to be so wealthy in multiple ways. It's not just rich in friendships, rich in money, like rich in experiences. And from my point of view, I always thought that could only be obtained through entrepreneurship. So I love how she set that example.
Yeah. And so I just love that, through all those things, she has not let that change her spirit. She has not let that take her joy. It seems like I mean, I'm sure she grieves, right?
Right.
But when you look at who she is just foundationally, you can tell she is a light,
Mhm.
like, so I sort of know her. I don't really know her, but I kind of know her, right? A little bit. So my friend Jay and my
Like
friend
my
Angela.
cousin Ronnie's sister
Right, right,
brother.
right. That's exactly what's about to happen. So, shout out to Jay and Angela. They both listen to this. I don't know if Jay as much as Angela, but Angela, hey girl. Chef Angie, we talked to her on Live
Oh,
Monday.
yeah.
Yeah. So they know personally, they know her boyfriend,
Mm,
her current boyfriend.
yeah.
So I feel like we're kind of friends by like once removed. Okay. um, but like, the fact that like she has found love again, in
Mhm.
her late 40s, I think mid 40s.
Something around there. It don't matter.
Found
She looked young and
She looked
fine.
great, but she's found love again after all the loss and love that she's had, right?
Yes.
She's found love again. She's talking about having a baby again after all the loss that she's had. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like most people, which is a testament to anyone listening to this, like whatever your circumstances are, let that be the fuel for your
Mhm.
next joyful moment, right? Don't
Right.
let that be the stop sign for you.
Mhm.
And I think many times that happens to us, like if something goes wrong, we're like, oh, I'm never doing that again. To my husband died, my boyfriend I'm never falling in love again. Like, you know what I mean? Like, some people will
Right,
jump to those.
exactly. Just
I
be
lost.
completely fear, shrink in fear. And she said,
Yeah.
"I'm gonna stand up to it." You know what I'm saying? She's running towards it. And I think that time, I mean, before that, she was already running towards it with things, but that time with her husband, she's like, even though she wanted to shrink, she had to
Mhm.
face it. And I'm sure you've been through that as well, where you didn't want to face any type of disparaging news or anything. But it's like there's a thing about the women who hold that type of power that can continue to grow,
Mhm.
is when you have to pull up your bootstraps or whatever you want to call it and put your armor on and go and handle that. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think for anyone, not even just women, but once you're able to control your I think once you're able to come to the realization that although life happens, we truly have control over our happiness and our joy. Happiness and
Mhm.
joy is a choice.
Mhm.
Right? Circumstances happen, but happiness and joy is a choice. And so
Mhm.
I think once we realize it's our choice, Like, we have power and dominion here,
Mm,
right? And the more that we let the circumstances determine our joy,
right.
the less joy we have, because we
Yes.
cannot control life. Life is going to life without our permission every day,
Absolutely. Mhm.
right? The
It's
only
gonna
thing
life
that
hard, and the more
hard,
you try to go after, it's gonna life even harder.
even harder. The only thing that I have control over every day is how I handle the day with
Mhm.
my energy, my spirit, my motivation, my like I that's the only thing I have control over. I don't have control over if I feel okay that day. My stomach could be hurt and I can't control that.
Right.
I don't have
Mhm.
control over if I interact with someone, they have an attitude, don't have control over that. Right?
Mhm.
But I have control over how I respond to it. And that's the key to joy
Yes.
and happiness. And so
Yes.
I think she has, even at a young age, it seems like, figured out how to control her joy. And I
Mhm.
love that. Like, she is a mindset coach, like, sample piece of
Mhm.
how it's not she's not happy because life hasn't happened to her. She's not happy because things were given to her. She's not happy because she's rich. She's not
Mhm.
happy because, she has a beautiful family and she's happy because she chooses to be, no matter
Mhm.
what. And she's
Mhm.
created the life that she wants because
Mhm.
she's chosen to be happy. So I love that for Bose. I love
Yeah.
it.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. And so when there was something you said that reminded me of her time on Beverly Hills, Housewives of Beverly Hills, and I know we're going to talk about it a little more, but what was it? It'll come back to me. So we can go to the next section then.
Yeah, so her career. So that's why people
Yes.
know Bose, right? Her career. Even on the Housewives, like, the reason why she was able to come in there and them kind of flock to her, to be honest,
Mhm.
was because they know she's a boss and
Mhm.
she don't need the show, right?
Right. Not
And
all.
she don't need them for clout. Like, she
Right.
is Bose. And
Exactly.
yeah, so she has been inducted into the Marketing
Hall of
Hall
Fame.
of Fame,
Mhm.
which is really cool. And she earned every single bit of that prestige. But let's talk about her career. So we know that she worked for Spike Lee. That was like
Yes.
her first entertainment
Yeah.
sort of job, but that wasn't even in marketing. It was entertainment industry, right? That wasn't
It
marketing
was.
per se.
But there is a part that were kinda like blends, so this is where we can kinda tie in the 2, because she left Pepsi she left, Spike Lee and went to another company, but
Mhm.
then they asked her to come back as an executive because they
Right.
wanted to do this partnership with Pepsi, and so when she did that, that was like her and I think it was her it wasn't her introduction to marketing because the job that she left she was doing marketing over there. But when she came back, it's like that's when her like this major company, this major deal that she was spearheading came into play
Okay.
with
So
Pepsi.
so that's where the Pepsi start happened.
Mhm.
And I know her big claim to fame with Pepsi was brokering that relationship with Beyonce,
Correct.
and her having Beyonce at the Super Bowl, and her being a part of the whole production of that and the nerves behind that, and hoping that it went well because it was the first time they had done something like this before. And
Right.
I remember that performance because that was like around the time I was graduating, and Beyonce killed that. Killed it, killed it, killed it. I'll still remember that
Absolutely.
performance.
Listen,
Amazing.
I'll go back and watch her performance and the one with her and Bruno Mars. Those are my
Yeah.
favorite Super Bowl halftimes.
No, so
And now
Beyonce
Kendrick.
definitely did her well with that. Um, so from there, I think what the big lesson with Bose was, because it had never been done, right? And so if she wanted to be cautious of like, oh, they gave me this responsibility, I don't want to mess it up. You do not. Most people who are trying to play it safe, they play it safe, but she
Mhm.
does not. She does not follow trends, she creates them. And
Yeah.
I love that. I was actually watching this other YouTube video today about this. It was this young guy, and he was talking about how he grew his Instagram page in 2 years to like 200,000 followers. And he
Mhm.
said the thing that he did that most people will tell you not to do, he did not follow the trends of things that were similar to him. So I
Mhm.
seen the video. He said, "No, if there's someone similar to me," I was like, "Oh, that's how they're doing it. How do I do it different?"
Mhm.
He's like, "Because they're similar to you, then people just watch them." He was
Yeah.
like, "So I wanna be original. I wanna figure out how do I do what I do, but do it in my way." And I thought that was a cool way to think about it, because that's the opposite of what people tell you about
Mhm.
how to do anything. And so Bose kinda has that same energy of, like, she's not worried about following trends and what everyone's doing. She is the trend. She
Right.
creates a trend. She
Mhm.
makes a trend and people then follow her,
Right.
right? So that's
Mhm.
cool. She joined Beats as the head of their global marketing,
Mhm.
which I remember back in the day when Beats were first coming out, that was really, really, really huge. 2014, Beats was acquired by Apple. I remember that buy too, for
Mhm.
$3 billion. So that opened a whole bunch of things, and she brokered a part of that negotiation. And then in 2014, she became the head of global marketing for Apple Music.
Mhm.
And I remember this is when she was a part of the launch of Apple TV as well. This isn't here, but I
Okay.
remember researching about that. And so I remember, you know, where Apple used to do, I mean, they still do it, where someone comes on the stage, the
The
keynote, where
keynote.
the
Yeah.
keynote. Okay.
They still do
So
it.
so she, for her first time ever, introduced Apple TV during the keynote.
Was it Apple
Uh
TV or Apple Music?
Apple TV. She did Apple TV first.
Okay.
Apple TV first.
Mhm.
She did the keynote, introduced it. She did it in a different way, played Afro beats to open up when she walked on
Mhm.
stage. She said everyone in the audience was not people who even know what that is, you
Yeah.
know? And so she was
Mhm.
like, I don't care because I know people who are streaming this across the world, they know what it is, right? So
Mhm.
she wasn't even concerned about the people in the room cheering for her. She was like, I know I got people who are out here for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, so she did that. That was huge. That was her first time doing anything like that. Um, then what did she do? Okay, then she became Uber. So Uber, do you know the story about how she ended up at Uber?
I know that they were plummeting and then she came in
So
and saved them.
this is how she got the Uber. She
Okay.
actually wasn't, she was happy where she was. She wasn't
Okay.
trying to leave. She ran into the CEO of Uber, 'cause I guess they all be at the same, I don't know. Okay. She ran
Mhm.
into him and said, 'cause I guess she had been watching Uber plummet
Mhm.
and watching
Mhm.
what they were trying to do to fix it. And it was,
Yeah.
she, as a marketing guru, she's like, what are they doing? So she
Yeah.
thought their strategy for fixing what the issue was wrong. Like at the time, there's a lot of people being like her, like attacked in Ubers. And so everyone was like
Yes.
afraid to, so that was the news going on. That's why Uber
Mhm.
was plummeting, because people were afraid to get
Right.
in Ubers. And so whatever they were doing, she was watching as a marketing person, just watching on the news and was like, this is horrible. And
Yeah.
so she ran into the CEO. They ended up in conversation and she said she told him, "What are you doing?"
Right.
And she was very candid because she was like, she wasn't trying to get a job. She was just
Somebody, you need help, brother. You need
peer
help.
to peer. Yeah, pretty much. She said they talked for hours. And she was
Yeah.
just like, "What are you doing? This is wrong." You know, just telling him why whatever he was doing was wrong and how the company was going to fail if he kept on this path. Essentially,
Mhm. Mhm.
bold bows. Okay, did
Exactly.
that. By the end of the conversation, he was like, "Well, if you think we're doing everything wrong, come work for me." And
Mm.
so that's how she ended up
That's cool.
going to Uber to fix their mess.
Yeah.
You know, and
And
so
the
she.
oh, go say
Mhm.
it. Go ahead.
So she came into a company that she knew was failing. Who does
Right.
that? Who leaves a company that is soaring, right? And then
Mhm.
volunteering to jump into some mess.
So it kind of reminds me, it's two things, twofold. So she did a interview on the Breakfast Club where she talked about because Charlemagne asked her like why leave or how come you don't stay at places so long? People kind of hire you as a hitman and then you are out. And she was like, well, I don't really want to spend time in the valley. I want to go from peak to peak to peak. So
Mhm.
like leave on a good note and go to another place, do your job and go there and then go to the next thing. But
Yeah.
also the second point of that, it reminds me of the CEO of Red Lobster and
Yep.
how he was like, when you see something failing, you go in and you fix it, and that's how you get or your reputation of
Make
being
your
able to
name.
make your name exactly. So
Yep.
when you can bring something back from the dead, then that's when you get that when you hit that next level of your career.
Mhm. So that's exactly what she did. And she said
Mhm.
she really wasn't looking to leave. She had, I think Apple was the company she had been at the longest because she was with them from 2014 until 2017. So
Mhm.
she was with them for a while and they were doing good. They were doing well by her. Like she had no reason to leave, but she wanted to turn this company around. So it maybe felt like a new exciting thing to
Mhm.
try. And she did. You see, we still riding in Uber today. Uber is still the
Right.
top rideshare
Mhm.
brand. And then
Mhm.
she did something completely out of character. She became the chief marketing officer for Endeavor, which was formerly WMEIMG. She didn't stay there too long, 2 years. And then Netflix, right?
Mhm.
And Netflix, huge for her to be a part of Netflix. I don't know. I didn't look into this. I didn't think about it, but I wonder. I know there's this pivot where Netflix started having a lot more diversity when it came to the content that they offered. Like we're getting a lot more black shows from
They do
other
have like
countries.
African stros.
It was
Mhm.
like a infuse of different cultural films, and I wonder if she was a part of that. Broke like them doing that. I wouldn't
I
doubt it
wonder.
if she
Mhm.
was. But yeah, so she was with Netflix for it looks like just a year and a half, and then, I mean, she's done so much that she didn't do anything for a bit, and she wrote her book, the memoir, in 2023, and then in 2024 is when I saw her, and I saw her right before she started the, Real
Housewives.
Housewives of Beverly Hills, and then her next endeavor, which I'm really excited to watch, she is partnering with Jimmy Fallon to do a show on NBC called On Brand, and
So
it's a
cool.
competition show. So I read a little NBC's little press conference on it. So it's been greenlit, meaning they've said it's gonna happen, but there's no date. So we don't know when it's gonna, hit TV, but I'm sure we'll find out soon because she's been posting about it lately. But it said that it will work with major brands in need of a big idea for a massive, high priority campaign. From creative earworm jingles to unbelievable productions, commercials, and merchandise, these contestants will compete and pitch their vision to the brand representatives, along with Bose and Fallon. And only the best ideas will make it to proof of concept, and then we'll figure out who the brands pick, and then the campaign will happen. So it's supposed to be a really, really, really big push, a big, exciting show. It could be one of those shows like that takes 20 seasons, like all those cooking shows that, are still on. So I'm really excited for this because who doesn't want to see that? Like I can't
Right.
wait to see
I
her
know, I know,
post.
I know, I know, I know.
Yeah, and so I just love it. And then she's still doing Housewives, and still doing keynotes and things like that. Because even the conference that I went to, it was called the National Sales Network. So it's a professional conference for Black people in sales.
Mhm.
And it was a really, really dope conference. I might go again this year. I'm thinking about it. But that was like a small conference and she still came and gave them
Right.
her time. It was so I just love that she is still pouring into the culture, pouring into people. So yeah, so that I'm totally mesmerized by her journey and
Mhm.
all the things that she has done, and we don't even she's not done. You know what I mean? Like she's done a lot, but she's not done. So
She's
who
not
knows
done
what's
because
next?
one thing that's not on here is she also has a hair care line called Eve. And when I now
Oh, I
think
forgot.
about, oh my God, this
But it's
is
not here, right? It's in Ghana.
no, I mean it's she sells it worldwide, but she
Oh, okay.
manufactures in Ghana. And
Okay, okay, okay.
she's the only black manufacturer of the hair of like the hair that all black women wear.
Oh, wow.
So and when and then let's talk about Eve real quick
Mhm,
because I just realized that she named her I'm gonna cry. I'm trying not to cry. She named her hair company Eve,
mhm.
and that's the like Eve is like woman, like the first woman, like that's the meaning of it. But also her first daughter's name was Eve, the one who passed away.
I didn't know that.
And then Eve is also kind of like a play on words to her mother's American name, which is Evelyn. And
Oh.
so it's
Is your mom's
really
name Evelyn?
my mom's name is Evelyn.
Oh, I thought so.
So it's just very, very beautiful now that you could see how everything is really personal to her.
Mhm.
And she first of all, she's basically like a diplomat in Ghana. She has
Yeah.
those roots there with her father
Mhm.
and just being Ghanaian, but being the first black manufacturer. She's not a supplier, she's not a reseller. She manufactures it, which
That's
is
dope.
normally not done. And so she's the only black person who does that.
Mhm.
And it's when we are 80% plus of the consumers of that type of product.
Yeah.
So it's when you talk about, I mean, trailblazing is doesn't even do her justice, especially being she's not the first black woman on Housewives of Beverly Hills, but she definitely,
She's
all
my favorite one.
right, all props go to Garcelle,
Mm.
but Bazoma just adds another flavor to the entire Housewives franchise,
I don't
and
wanna give
everybody
props to
knows it.
Garcelle. Do I give props to Garcelle?
Why not?
I'm not a Garcelle fan, so maybe that's
Okay,
why.
we're gonna talk about her later.
Yeah. But
Gar
Bose,
Garcelle has done great things in her own right, okay?
not on the show. Yes, in life, not on the show. She did not do us well. I was not like, "Oh, yeah, Garcelle representing the black woman." No, she was Mm-mm. But Bose, I was like, "Yes, Bose. Yes, Bose. Let him know." Garcelle's like,
But
"Oh."
I like how so we'll get I'm not gonna where this is her, Bose's highlight. I definitely want to get into that, but this is not. Well, I'm not gonna take it to Housewives yet, unless you really want to. Then we can really get into
No,
it.
I said what I'm gonna say.
No. I'm not gonna go back and forth with you. I have my own opinions, but I don't want to take the spotlight off of Bose. Is what I'm saying. But speaking of Beverly Hills, okay, let's just get into it then because she's had her time on Beverly Hills. Okay, so I love her coming in. I love her friendship with Dorit.
Mm.
Um, I love that Dorit finally has an ally on the show
Yeah,
because everybody's been kind of been like, getting on Dorit. She
yeah.
has her quirks, but it's like,
She
don't we
look
all? You know,
I agree.
and so, I even when she came on, like Garcelle showed her respect. Like she was like, you're that B, you're the boss B. You know what I'm saying? And so, I think Garcelle as a I think that I liked her on the show because I liked her friendship with Sutton. And but she was a pot stirrer. She always got to like to make get drama brewing. It's like, chill out, like
That's how I
relax.
felt about her.
Yes, it's like you were only here to carry a bone, and it's
It
like,
felt like she didn't have a storyline, so to create one,
yeah,
she just
she
created
stirred up
drama.
drama.
And
Yeah.
sometimes the drama was race related, but it didn't need to be.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
that's what kind of bothered me.
Okay.
Because I don't like when the black card is overused
Yeah.
or used prematurely or used immature
Prematurely.
or used in the wrong situation because it then
Correct.
dilutes it when it's really should be
Real when it's
used.
real. When it's real.
And
I
so I felt
understand.
like she came in there like black card, black card, black card. And
Right.
like and she would use it to shut the women down.
Yeah.
She would make it about race
Yeah.
so that they didn't have nothing to say because they're not gonna be
Right. It's like,
canceled.
yeah. And I have a hot take. I'm not saying that obviously racism obviously exists and
100%.
microaggressions exist,
100%.
but I realize that some of the things that I'll say that I have been offended by, or other black women get offended by, is just the way white women talk in their own circles. So, but it just has a different context when they say it to black women, and so without them having that understanding,
Yeah.
then it's like it makes everything really awkward, and it's like, how do you get past this? Like,
Yeah.
we can't expect them to know everything because we don't know everything about whatever they're going through.
Right.
It's like, just because we're black, you have an experience, you're a relationship with a black woman, black person, doesn't mean that you are obligated to educate yourself on everything.
Right.
But I think there's a line where it's like, if there have grace in that first offense, and be
Yeah.
like, hey, this could be da 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 because of XYZ. And
Yeah.
as the counterpart, the white counterpart, I think it's the responsibility to have grace and be receptive, and then you decide how you want to move on from there.
Yeah.
But I understand what you're
She
saying.
overused it. Like there's a
Yeah.
situation where one of the women called her out on not it was a fundraiser, Kyle. Kyle had a fundraiser
Oh, yeah, for not paying, and
and
it's
Gar
like, well,
and it
black
was like
women,
we and I'm like,
yeah.
"Don't do that. You didn't pay your bill. You didn't pay your bill. You didn't have the money.
I
You didn't have
remember.
the money and you didn't pay your bill."
Yeah.
And Kyle would have called anybody out for that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
don't make Kyle feel bad for calling you out for not paying
Right.
and say it was a rate. Well, as a black, don't do that.
But
Just
then
pay
that
your
goes
bill.
but then that goes into there's that line of sensitivity where it's like, can you maybe that should have been an off-camera conversation, and maybe it
No,
was,
that's
I
not
don't
what this
know.
show's about. This show is about they all call each other out. So it's not fair that Garcelle can call them out,
Mhm.
but they can't call her out because she's black. That's what I'm saying. If you're gonna play in a group of rich, messy women who all fight each other,
Right.
they fight each other, they call each other out. This one will
Mhm.
say that one had a sex tape, and this one will say that one's man was with somebody else at the restaurant. They all ruthlessly, the one who was married to the lawyer, she got called out for like a whole season. They
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
for
Erica.
drinking, and Erica was constantly Garcelle was the main one calling her out for taking drinks with her meds,
Yeah,
right?
that was, yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't like the way Garcelle and Sutton, they would gang up on people in their lowest moments. Like, that's not cool, especially if you call yourself a friend. But I don't know where to stand on that, because we talk about, we want to break down race barriers, right?
Mhm.
And we talk about needing to people needing to be receptive to the other person's experience. And
Mhm.
we know that I don't know, it would, even though Garcelle brought it up in a way that probably was that didn't necessarily need to happen. I'm not going to invalidate what she said. She should have paid her bill, but there is that stereotype that black people don't pay, don't do this, don't do that. So it's like, is there I don't know if it was wrong for her to make Kyle aware of that. You know what I'm saying?
I I guess I get it, but then I don't. I feel
Mhm.
like wrong is wrong, and I don't want my wrong to be ignored because I'm Black. And now there are situations where I'm called wrong and I'm not wrong because I'm
Mhm.
Black, right? And so
Mhm.
in that situation is different. Now if Kyle never called anybody else out,
Mhm.
but chose to call me out, now I have a problem, Kyle, because you're treating me different.
Right.
But the
And I'm
fact that
honestly sorry, go ahead.
but the fact that watching the show, she wasn't treating she was if anything, trying to treat Garcelle like she treats everybody, like, that's my thing. And
Right.
then especially because I felt like there's many moments where Sutton did
So let's talk
little
about
things,
that. Did you watch this
and
past season of Beverly
no,
Hills?
I'm behind on it, but I've
Okay.
when Sutton came on, they became buddies and the Crystal girl was on.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot of times when Sutton did little microaggressions,
Mhm.
Garcelle didn't say nothing to her friend about it
Mhm.
because that was her friend, that's her ally.
Right. So I'm gonna give it away. I'm gonna spoil it for
Go
you.
ahead.
But there is a part on this reunion where but Bose calls out Garcelle for something like this because Garcelle. So there was an issue where Dorit had mentioned something about Sutton's drinking, like made a joke about it, got really testy. Um, what's her name? Sutton called Dorit a bee in her house. So then she was like, "Well, you could leave then."
Mhm.
And so she was like sulking by the door. And then Bose was like, went up and was like, "Why are you sulking? Are you gonna come in this bar? Are you gonna leave? Like, what are you doing?" So then, and the reunion, Sutton is like, "You came screaming at me," and da. She was like, "I wasn't screaming." I said, "No one on this cast has ever heard me yell. So watch your words." And so she was saying more things, and then Bose was like, "And Garcelle, I'm frankly surprised that you didn't catch it because like as a Black woman, like I was not yelling, and she's to make paint me as this aggressor, and I wasn't that." And so Garcelle really really shut down. She's not coming back next season, right?
Yeah, because she's scared. Because she can't handle there being 2 on the show.
I
She's
don't think that was
acting
the
like
case at the beginning,
but that's
but
how it feels now. She
yeah.
feels like,
I honestly think that she
"Oh."
doesn't feel like she has a friend anymore because her and Sutton had a falling out for the first time, and now everybody is looking at her like, so if you don't have a friend to connect with on the season, then you really don't have a season. And then
But they all fall out. Erica, remember there was one point Erica wasn't friends with nobody,
yeah,
and
but
she still
Erica,
keep
but Erica
showing
held her.
up?
Erica is a beast.
That's what I'm
Okay,
saying. Even the other
Erica and Bose, I'm sure that they have some parallels in life,
yeah,
but
even,
Erica's a
like, the
beast.
other shows, like Nene, and there's been many seasons where a
They
housewife
have to
was
stand alone.
Kenya. Oh my
Oh,
god, Kenya's
Kenya's has to stand alone all the
always, always. I'm shocked when she has a friend, right?
time.
So it's like, no, that's my thing with Garcelle. Like, maybe the show was too much for her. Maybe she wasn't ready for that. You know what I mean?
I don't
Because
know.
she acted a little bit like that on The Real,
Mhm.
but I just
She was
think
on
that
The Real?
she was on The Real.
Oh, I don't remember that. I stopped watching after Tamar left.
Oh, well then yeah, you missed it. But she was on The Real for a season, their last season. But she would act like that on there, like she doesn't want anyone to challenge her. And
Mm.
that's why I'm like, but Bose came in there strong,
She said, "But
got
we have already went through this woman's in memoir, okay?" She was like,
yeah,
"I can handle any mother effing thing." She's like, yeah,
anything.
she's like, I feel like she's like the Sam. If she cuts like Samuel L. Jackson, I'm like, she reminds me of like tough as nails, like Samuel L.
Yeah.
Jackson.
So that's why, like, she made me like I watched maybe 5 seasons of the new season, but I was like, "Yes, that's how you do it. That's how you correct a microaggression without making everything about the microaggression." Because
Right,
don't say I'm yelling and I'm not.
right.
That's different than you didn't pay your bill. When you really didn't pay your bill. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah,
when you overplay that card, it dilutes it,
yeah.
and it makes it less
Mhm.
powerful. And I feel like Bowles does it in a different type of way. And I feel like if Garcelle was really about it, she would come back another season and make it right.
I do really want her to make it right. A bit of me feels like it's the Sagittarius in her that kind of what like wants it wants everything to be understood but never spoken. And
Mm,
it's like, well, that's not the way things work, especially when
yeah,
you're at a space where you have to communicate all your feelings.
yeah.
So she withdrew herself and walked away, which I
Mhm,
understand as a fellow Sagittarius, but you have to step up, especially if you want to take a space in a room. And I think she had a problem taking up space. She also comes from a different generation. She obviously has a different background to
mhm,
where she has, you know, maybe had to, and her experience is she's had to shrink in life instead of being
mhm.
able to like bust through a room and say, I'm gonna do whatever the F I want to do. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like she doesn't seem like she can stand on her own in this cast, on this cast.
No, no, she
Yeah.
can't. And honestly, even before Bose, she couldn't. Let's be
No,
real.
no, no. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So,
Mhm.
but anyway, us wrapping it up with Bose being a boss is the point of it.
Right.
We are
Yes.
Bose fan I don't know what her fan club is called. Maybe we need to create it for her.
Right. I would
Bose
love to be
bosses,
on
the bossy
both.
Boses, I don't know.
I don't know. We'll
Boss
be more
Bose,
clever.
Bosey, but we'll think we'll
Bozy
figure it out.
boss. Bozy.
Yeah, something.
Bossy
The Boss
Bozy.
Girls. I don't know, but we're gonna create a fan club for you both if you don't already have one, because we are
Yes.
the presidents of this. And let's wrap up by jumping to our stand on
Oh, business.
business.
Yes. So this kind of goes into what we were just talking about. But the thing I love so much about her in every single space, whether she's in the boardroom or like on a reality show, is she's unapologetic about her blackness, even in corporate spaces. And so for me, my stand on business is when you've got the goods and can deliver, your authenticity can't be
Mhm,
denied. I'm gonna say that again.
mhm.
Rewind.
Rewind.
When you've got the goods and can deliver, your authenticity cannot be denied.
I love
And
that.
she is the epitome of that.
I love it. So my stand on business, also Bose inspired, is you don't need permission to be iconic. Write your own urgent life and live it out loud. And that your brand isn't your logo, it's your permission to keep the promises that you set for yourself. And I think that I mean, I got that from Bose and just who she is and how you can be confident but still be kind. You can
Yes.
be bold but still be humble.
Mm,
And I love that combination because I think people sometimes confuse humility with low self-esteem, and
mm,
that's not what it is.
right.
You can be very, very confident. You can be a boss. You can take up space and be
Mhm.
humble and kind and down to earth, and it all work out.
Yes, and
So
you could
I
be
love that.
loud as well, and you
Yes.
could like loud and in your appearance and your voice.
Mean that you're what? You're arrogant? It doesn't mean
Yeah,
that you're
that.
walking in masculine energy. I hear that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I think feminine energy for me is knowing who I am and loving who I am.
Yeah.
Like loving every bit of who I am as a woman. That is feminine energy, whatever that looks like, however
Mhm.
I walk that out. So I love that. And I also would love for all of you
So
to
walk in that boldness.
like and follow
Yes.
and subscribe. We've actually gotten a few more followers in the
Oh
last
my
week or
god, in
so.
the last week, we've gotten over 200, and
Yeah.
it's still going up. Over
Yeah.
200 subscribers in the last week. It's
So
crazy.
it's super exciting because I don't know if you all know, but we were stuck in like 150 prison for like
Yeah.
9 months, you know? And so for us to jump in 7 days to 430 is when I checked earlier today is
Mhm.
exciting. And we thank you all for
Yes.
subscribing and liking. We thank you for being here. We love
Yes.
you. So go ahead and let the world know you like us. Subscribe.
Exactly, and
Make us YouTube official real quick.
exactly,
Okay?
and our not only have our subscribers gone up, but our returning subscribers have gone up, and our watch time has gone up, so people are enjoying the
Holla.
content, and so
You
last week
watching us? Y'all like
yes,
us?
yes,
We
comment
like
now.
you
Please leave a
too.
comment. Let us know, all your feelings, all your thoughts, whether you like it or
Yeah,
you don't like it, just let us know
let
something.
us know, and don't forget to download um, your
The
planner,
whole
Schooling Life
planner.
Planner.
Mhm.
It's free. The link is in our bio, and if you want to work with either of us or talk to any of us, see what we're personally doing in our lives, follow us at the information below, and close us out. I know there's something I'm supposed to say, so Liana, you go ahead and say it, and
Yes.
then we'll see y'all next week.
Exactly. So if you enjoyed this video, then check out our last feature on Canva's co-founder who turned 100 no's into a $32 billion empire. Click that
Holla.
video next.
Bye, y'all.